Is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? I felt that it is necessary to talk again about a very important topic under the philosophy of life. Is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? Or is it the absolute truth? Otherwise, it is a question that has been asked in various forms by many people. Is Buddhism a science or some nonsense that someone told? So many people question Buddhism in various ways. Dear friends, today I thought that it is necessary to talk a little about this on this channel. Dear friends, let's start by asking a small question about our topic. I ask you here in this question, is there anything else you need to achieve in your life? Is there anything more to achieve in your life? You are someone who sees that there is a greater place than where you are. When we ask you about the philosophy of the question, the answer many people give us is yes. The fact that I have a little more to build up has two sides of this. We receive these questions from one of our friends. They say this, "Oh yes, I am very poor. It is very difficult for me to even find food. Because of that, someone says that I will live my life with great effort and sadness." We get another answer. Friends, every now and then someone says, "Oh yes, I have a bad habit of not spending time with my family. I feel like I'm marginalizing them, but I don't have the strength to do it." Make it the other way around. There is no way to break these bad habits. I get angry. Oh my life, I know I need to say a lot of things to build more. This is the second type. We can recognize that we are looking for two ways to make our life perfect. People are looking for something in this world based on pleasure. That is, one type of person finds something based on pleasure. And dear friends, at the same time we seek something in this world based on the truth, based on the meaning, based on good and bad. Dear friends, we can see the first very important thing that the world is the two main ways that we are looking for in life. These two are material realm and spiritual realm, material dimension and spiritual dimension. And the man is looking what the life is in between these two realms, material and spiritual. We have learned the basic concept. The meaning of life is in the middle of these two dimensions. This is the very basic concept. Man is looking or exploring the works in two realms, material and spiritual. Dear friend, in this material realm, we call the search of a person a material pursuit or physical search. A good car, a good career, a good partner, a good decent place to have a companion. This is an opportunity to enjoy life by taking a trip here and there. Dear friends, a person moves in this material dimension or material realm, looking for things we say, material pursuit. Friends, also, there is an exploration of a person in the spiritual dimension. There is a pursuit. We say spirit pursuit, or more or less spiritual exploration. Depending on the speed at which way people travel, the distance traveled going or not may vary for different person to person in these two realms, material and spiritual. But generally speaking, we can recognize there are two types of pursuit in this two types of realm among us. My dear friends, this kind of definition of this life is, we say, Aristotelian or Aristotle's ontology. Aristotle actually saw the living beings in this world in 5 main regions. There are these inanimate materials. There is no material pursuit for an inanimate material, and there is no spiritual pursuit. Next, he saw plants. Plants grow. That means growing. He saw that it was pointing towards the light. Also, he saw the roots go towards water, finding water, so we can see the plants have very, very limited material pursuits, and we say so. Then animals. Animals are wider than trees, looking for a good place to stay, looking for a partner looking for protection, looking more broadly about breeding their own kind. Because of that, animals have more material pursuit, a very wider range than plants or trees. But dear friends, animals are said to have no spiritual pursuit out of this world. There is no animal trying to be great. No animal in this world is able to be as great. And no animal can be cruel in this world. And they got a very limited lifestyle. Dear friends, animals cannot be the greatest. but they can also not be cruel. Aristotle said that a living creature who can be both great and cruel is human. Also, he said people have material as well as spiritual pursuits, but animals do not have a material pursuit and a spiritual pursuit. Not plants, no stone. People have two: exploring material world as well as the spiritual world. Humans are always exploring these two. According to Aristotle, those who explore these two realms most widely are gods. They have elixir. By drinking the elixir, gods have the ability to attain the ultimate happiness in the world. Also, if he thought that gods are those who have reached the highest level of excellence in terms of wisdom, we do not need to join and agree with Aristotle to divide them into 5 regions in this way. But in a certain way, if we think that it is worth knowing one way in which these individual regions or living regions have been interpreted under the philosophy for life, let's see it now. Please do not think that Aristotle's theory does not suit Buddhism, or it is not going parallel with Buddhism. But let us try to understand the meaning of this. Dear friends, remember the interpretation of man, or ultimate meaning of human life, is attainable in the material realm and the spiritual realm. Is there an absolute meaning? Reaching towards the material realm or spiritual realm. This is what is often defined as the meaning of a person's life. How do we understand this? Look at this. We said that within these two realms, within these two dimensions, there is a quest. Let us understand these two realms. What is science and what is philosophy in these two realms, material and spiritual? When a person engages in a quest, whether it is physical or spiritual, what he finds is knowledge. Touch is like this, and this life is like this. This is what a new cup of tea tastes like. Otherwise, when you go to a new hotel and have a good experience, this is why these planets move like this. This is how this animal lives. All of these are material realm things that belong. All of them are knowledge, or knowledge that a person explores and builds. Friends, in material realm, if there is a structure in which we seek knowledge, we call a structural method. One method we call a scientific method. Do we construct any knowledge, meaning, or understanding from the observational conclusions we draw from a repeatable experiment? We call it the scientific method, where repeatable experiments are extremely important. We do science to understand something physical or change it, so it is in the material realm. Something that belongs to this is called science. There is also a person's quest in the spiritual realm, my dear friends. We have gained knowledge in this too, but this is not called knowledge, but meaning. We call the knowledge that a person develops in spirit or spiritual exploration as the meaning of life. Friends, it is like this. We believe in this spiritual realm. Is there in this world absolutely true? The absolute truth. Absolute truth. We try to touch this absolute truth in various ways. It is when we touch this absolute truth that we find the meaning. Understanding the nature of reality means the absolute truth in the world. To try to touch these absolute truths is called, in other words, the spiritual realm. What we are trying to do is that if a person has reached to the absolute truth, the spiritual realm, then we define him as a person who has fully conquered the spiritual. We are not all there. We are trying to get there. That is the general definition. A method that seeks meaning in this physical dimension is called a structural method and a scientific method. And in the spiritual dimension, a person's spiritual questions, philosophical questions. What is the meaning of life? What is love? How can I be a good man, say good and bad? What are these questions? In the spiritual dimension, the method we explore or find out the answers of these questions, the meaning of structural knowledge is called philosophy. We are able to understand what science is and what philosophy is in this way, and we are trying to answer those questions. But my dear friends, this world is a very big thing. We cannot search for meaning or knowledge like going to a shop and buying a loaf of bread. In this world, there is a space in which a man can behave, and a man cannot finish it in life by taking all the pleasures of the whole world. Therefore, A person defines his limit within this material realm. There are a lot of professions in this world, but we choose one. We have our own limit in the world. And the same way there are a lot of women and men, but we just choose one to live with. You can't live with all of them. There are so many cars in the world to choose, but we choose one, or two, or 10, or to choose a house of any size, to find a place to stay. Dear friends, this is what we say inside the material realm. A person gets framed, and he is finding happiness inside this frame or bubble. And in the same way we get framed or bubbled, even in the spiritual realm, he or she thinks that if there is any absolute truth in this world of life, this philosophy is the one which was taught to me. In a world where there is not only one philosophy, not only one happiness, when there are so many happy and various comforts, we focus our lives on a few or one while there are various philosophies in the world. He chooses to focus our lives on a few or one. This is the philosophy that mainly teaches the meaning of this life. This is the correct view to convey the meaning. He got framed in it and found the meaning of life through it. He tries to find the meaning in that frame bubble. As an example, there are people who follow these different philosophies in this world. One is theism. The ultimate meaning of this world is to serve God and get God's blessing, and this is one philosophy. And one more is determinism. In this it is said we cannot choose anything. Our life all is programmed or written by destiny. Everything in this world is unchangeable. It is programmed or written by someone. Everything we do is to be with someone who has been written somewhere. Everything is according to the destiny of a person. Another one is hedonism. The only thing to do in this world is to seek happiness as much as possible. One more is utilitarianism. This means if you expect something from someone, do the same for others. Nihilism. This world has no meaning in this world. You better do whatever you want. All these different philosophies see the reality of life or the world is like this, and that according to them. A person who thinks about the reality of this world as a nihilism has no meaning to this world. Determinism. People think that the only meaning in this world is that we have always taken destiny, or the meaning of this world is that the person who thinks about theism is absolutely true, that life is a life and God has done all this. Some people say, I am not like that. I am not following or thinking according to any philosophy, or I have no religion. Even if someone says so, there is a meaning of good or bad in that person, or there is no good or bad, even if he is such a person. However, he must have a vision for his life. Maybe he does not know the name of the philosophy, but for a person, there is always a vision. If he is not an animal, then we should understand it that way. Now we talk to each other to solve our problems. So let's start this story with the first question. Is Buddhism a science? No, friends, Buddhism is not a science. The knowledge that comes from the meanings of Buddhism is not found by a scientific method. The Buddha did not do any experiment scientifically, like categorizing this type of people separately, and did not do any survey or demography this way or like that, and did not do any research paper. Buddhism is not a science, but most of the time, some facts and theories which are confirmed with a scientific method are overlapping with Buddhism, and we can see similarities between Buddhism and science. A lot of people say that Buddhism is a science, but friends, science is something built on the scientific method, which is a test or experiment that can be repeated with a meaning understood from the conclusions drawn from those tests and data. In a known sense, Buddhism is not a science. Okay, let's move on to the next story, that Buddhism is nonsense. If there is something in this world that no one believes in, and if there is something in this world that cannot be shown to be true, we call it nonsense. A person may not believe in or follow Buddhism, but most parts of this world believe. And it is clear that there are different meanings in it. That is, Buddhism can never be said to be nonsense. If someone says it is nonsense, then he has seen his whole life from his own angle. If any religion in the world is called nonsense, not only Buddhism, but any religion in the world is called nonsense, that person is very restrictive. In a scene, that's how we should recognize whether it is nonsense or not. Dear friends, is Buddhism a philosophy? It is a controversial debate among many people today. As we talked about earlier, philosophy is a framework which explains the absolute truth in this world. What is the meaning of Buddhism? What is the meaning of Buddha Dharma? Lord Buddha presented Buddhism in the four absolute truths to see the world through them. He describes this world as having four noble truths, or four absolute truths. And I will teach you all these absolute truths, Buddha told the world. Buddhism, as academically, individual differences can be believed to change different things. From an academic point of view, we have to consider Buddhism as a philosophy because it tries to bring an explanation and a meaning about the nature of the world. That is the first formula. There is nothing in Buddhism that does not belong to the Four Noble Truths, which the Buddha's philosophy has built in the four meanings of this Dharma to the world preached to us by Lord Buddha. So the fact that Buddhism is a philosophy is a framework that a person can use to find the ultimate meaning in this world. Whether that frame is small or wide, we can understand a different frame as Buddha's philosophy. Friends, Buddhism means Buddhist philosophy. The next most important question, is Buddhism the absolute truth? It is very simple. If one accepts the philosophy of Buddhism, he saw the Buddha's philosophy as absolute truth. One can give interpretation to absolute truth. Saying that you understand the philosophy, it is the same thing that he says that he sees the absolute truth through that vision. One who accepts theism. A person who accepts theism sees it as absolute truth. Officially, one sees someone studying Buddhism as a subject. That does not mean he is following it. If a person who chooses to practice Buddhism as a philosophy sees Buddhism as absolute truth, let's clarify a bit more. A person is someone who studies Buddhism academically. It may not be taken as absolute truth. It is possible in the mind. But if a person chooses Buddhist philosophy as the main method of exploring the spiritual realm in their life, onward from that moment, he believes Buddhism is the absolute truth. That is very important. But that's exactly what it is. The answer we can give is that Buddhism is the absolute truth. Friends, let's talk next about Buddhism as a religion. What is religion called? A religion is the result of socialization of a certain philosophy. There is a cultural element in a religion. There is a philosophical part in a religion. There is a process that has been built in a religion. As an example, there are some sutras in Buddhism about the method by which a person who has died can get that merit. But in the Buddhist religion, there are things that are formed in the way each sutra should be implemented. There is a general cultural system that celebrates those merits, and it is trampled. What will happen to the parts of the sutras preached in the Buddha's philosophy? And it is totally different and has no relevance to Buddhism. There are cultural differences, or even cultural differences. Also, people have added more or less to the religion which is not based on Buddhist philosophy, based on their own needs throughout the time. Then a religion is called a philosophy when it is socialized. Especially the philosophy, the cultural elements, and the doctrine process. And these three things are mixed and formed as a religion. And friends, everyone in the world has no need or ability or time to study Buddhism as a philosophy. Any on's life has a spiritual realm, and there is a need for that. Religions appear in the world to fulfill that need effectively, and religious culture may affect this. Now, based on the notice we have gone, based on theism, based on theistic philosophy, theistic religions arise from socialization. Also, as a result of the socialization of Buddhist philosophy, as a blending of the issues of that society and culture, the blending of the doctrine is a blending of the process of the Buddha's philosophy. Religion has been socialized as Buddhism. There are things that those people have collected. So, friends, this is what we need to understand. Is Buddhism nonsense? Is Buddhism a science? Or is Buddhism a philosophy? I think that little by little we have made some sense in this matter. Is Buddhism a religion, a philosophy, or a science?